Hi there, and thanks for joining our Wheel and Anchor webinar about our Slovenia, Croatia, and Dalmatian Coast program happening in May of 2025. I'm delighted to be sharing this program with you. This is one of our most popular programs, usually sold out months in advance because we are quite unique in that we have a private yacht that we take each year to sail the beautiful coast of Croatia. Let me say a couple of quick words about Wheel and Anchor for those of you who are new and haven't perhaps seen one of our webinars before or participated in one of our trips. We are a community of travelers from all across Canada, and what brings us all together is a like-minded sense of travel. And when I say like-minded, first and foremost, our community is comprised almost exclusively out of people from across Canada. Many of our members are already quite well traveled, but we also have members who are not so well traveled. And so, what makes us like minded is our sense of curiosity, our sense of community, and I'll talk more about that in a second, our sense of social ability and meeting other people and really learning and exploring. I was thinking about some of the comments I get from our local guides in the various countries that we visit, and they say that they really love Canadians because they're polite, they're courteous, they're inquisitive, they ask questions, and they have a lot of fun together. And so this dynamic is something we really foster in our organization, which is why we are pretty much exclusively working with members from across Canada. And so inside of all that, my personal goal is that you become well traveled and well connected. And well traveled for us at Wheel and Anchor means not so much checking off boxes of places that you've been, but rather having an experience that really has you have come away with a sense of a place, a connection to local people. So there's that word connected. Connection to the place that you've been. The analogy I use is that if you've been somewhere, you remember where you were, you remember what day you were there, and you remember that when you pick up the newspaper and you read an article about a place that's halfway around the world, you can relate to it as if almost as if you'd lived there. So that's our vision and our philosophy for travel at Wheel and Anchor. As I mentioned, we've run this trip to Croatia a few times before. We have some great memories. I thought I'd share with you a few photos from our 2024 trip, and you can see all our members. And this is the same time of the year, May of 2024. So you get a sense of the kind of people who come on our trips, the fun that we have. You can also get a sense of the weather. May is usually a beautiful time to go, early May. It's one of my favorite times. It's before the tourist season really gets going in Croatia. The weather's already really nice. The ocean is a little on the cool side, but definitely some of our members like to swim in the Adriatic coast because there are some lovely bays and so on. And although the water is a little chilly, it's so inviting because the color is so blue. So this is actually a picture from Lake Bled in Slovenia, which is one of the first stops that we make along the trip. So I'll share with you all about that in a minute, but just a quick introduction to myself and my team. My name's Gordon Drager. I'm the founder of Wheel and Anchor. I curate all of our programs here, and I am closely assisted in terms of communicating with all of our members by our lead trip specialist, Paula Zarnik. Paula is the person who is most likely to pick up the phone when you call our office and answer your questions and really make sure that you have all the information you need to know to consider whether you'd like to join on one of our trips. And we are backstopped by a whole team of professional people that do all of the background work on our trips, our operations team, and of course my colleagues who assist with marketing and then all the financial stuff. So we've got a really wonderful team of people, and I'm very proud of them all and the high quality of programs that we bring to you. So today, though, we're going to be talking about Croatia, Slovenia, the Dalmatian coast. I'm going to be taking you on a little journey down the coast where we're headed in May of 2025. So as I always do at the beginning of these webinars, I'll start off with the geography. So this trip is covering the northern part of the Adriatic Sea. So by just for reference, Venice, for example, Venice, Italy is just over here, just left off the map. Ljubljana is our starting point. for the trip, which is the capital of Slovenia. And from here, we're going to be spending a few days in Ljubljana. We're going to visit Lake Bohinj, Lake Bled, of course, the famous Lake Bled. I'll show you some pictures in a moment. This is a gem amongst European countries that a lot of people aren't familiar with. You might have heard of it. It's often confused with Slovakia. It's a very different country. This was the first Balkan country, the first former Yugoslavian country to secede from the Yugoslav conglomerate, the Yugoslav Union, as it were, at the end of the Balkan War, and is a wonderful country. From Ljubljana, we had a couple hours overland down to the Istrian Peninsula, and that's this peninsula of land here, the largest peninsula in the Adriatic, and this is the food capital of Croatia. And one of the things that Istria is famous for is truffle hunting. We're going to be staying here in Rovinj. It's a lovely, lovely seaside town, and is in the center of the Istrian Peninsula, and will be the gateway to visit all these other little towns around Istria, and I'll get into that in a minute. We then make one overland hop, so we drive all the way down the coast. We go a little bit inland, actually, down to Šibenik, which is going to be the starting point of our 7-night yacht cruise down the Croatian coast. And we picked Šibenik specifically because we've chartered the ship, and this will be the second time that we've worked with this particular family that owns the ship. I love this ship. It's family owned, and most of the Croatian charters go in and out of Split, which we will stop and visit at. It's a beautiful town. It's a very busy place in terms of embarking or disembarking. So I like Šibenik, first of all, because a lot of the charters don't go to Šibenik. It's definitely worth visiting. It's a little bit quieter, so we embark and we'll spend a day there. And as I say, over the course of 7 nights, we'll visit all these wonderful islands and peninsulas, amazing countryside. We will end up then in Dubrovik. The end, of course, needs no introduction, one of the most famous ports in the Mediterranean. And we'll jump off our boat there, and we'll have 2 more days in a nearby town called Kavdat, that allows us to go back and explore Dubrovnik and its environs a little more. So that's the overview. So now I'll just give you a brief rundown of what we can expect on the trip. As I mentioned, we start in Ljubljana, and Ljubljana, as I mentioned, is a super charming town. You can get there relatively easily from all points in Canada, typically flying via gateway in Europe. Frankfurt or Munich are the usual ones, but there are other connection points that you can use to fly down to Ljubljana, and the airport is about a 25-minute drive away from downtown. And when you arrive in the city, you'll immediately be just totally taken aback by how charming it is. There's a river that runs down the middle of the city. There's this famous bridge in the middle, which goes in multiple different directions, the famous bridge in town. And we won't do too much on the first day. We'll let you wander around, catch some fresh air, and catch up on the time change that you'll have. We'll have a little icebreaker in the evening, as we always do on our trips, to get to know your fellow members, your host, and get ready to begin our journey around. So, of course, we're going to visit Ljubljana in a little bit more depth with our local guide. We're going to go up to the castle that you see there, Ljubljana Castle, which you don't have to walk up. There is a funicular, an inclined railway that goes up there, and has beautiful views over the town. The town is so reminiscent of Austria, the colored buildings, the style of the churches and monuments, and it's so well kept. And there's, outdoor cafes, and the vibe of this place is one of those ones where you're like, God, I could come back here and spend a month. We are going to have a delicious welcome dinner at a quite a famous restaurant there called Jezerzik, which is just adjacent to the castle, and it'll be our first chance to sort of imbibe in local Slovenian cuisine. And I won't go into it in great detail. There's lots of influences. There's Austrian influences. There's also other Balkan influences, so the Mediterranean flavors that you find there. But rest assured, based on past experience from our members, it'll be a great memory. The next day, we're going to head off and visit 2 of the most famous lakes in Slovenia. First of all, Lake Bled. This one, you've probably seen a picture of it before. This is one of the most famous scenes of Lake Bled. On previous trips, we stayed in Lake Bled, and it's a lovely town. We'll have a little bit of time to walk along the shore. Probably not. There is a path that goes all the way around the lake. We'll see how much time there is, but you'll get a great taste of it. We'll take a paddled boat, a rowed boat from the shore here across to this charming little island in the middle where you can visit this church. You can actually ring the bell in the church. It's always a fun thing to do for visitors. And then we'll go up to Bled Castle, which is located up here on a hilltop and has great views down over the lake. And that's where you'll really get the sense of the color of this lake, which has the most incredible turquoise blue that you can imagine. The second part of the day, we're going to go in the afternoon further into the mountains, into what's called Triglav National Park. We're going to visit Lake Bohinj. Lake Bohinj is arguably an even more picturesque lake. It doesn't have an island with a church on it, but it is set right against the backdrop of the Alps. The Julian Alps is what they're called at that point. In May, you still have, like you can see here, some snow on the peaks. It's stunning landscape. Here you get a sense of it. This picture obviously taken in the fall with the fall colors, and the reflection of the mountains on a clear day, on a calm day, makes it a very worthwhile stop. We'll be back by the evening to have time to explore Ljubljana on your own, and enjoy some dinner. And of course, we're going to feed you well during the day, but you'll definitely want to go and do some sampling at some of the smaller restaurants around. We then, as I say, after the first few days, we make our way down to the Croatian coast and arrive into, first of all, Piran is the Slovenia's only major town on the coast, and a favorite stop. Some of the cruise ships stop in here, but usually only the smaller ones. It's a charming little village. We'll stop in here and have some lunch in Piran, get to know a little bit about Slovenia's connection. This is their only way to get to the sea. And then we're going to make our way from here down to Rovinj, which is known for its Venetian architecture. It's a beautiful place. We've got a hotel that's right on the seashore and amongst pine forest. It's absolutely charming. And Rovinj is one of my favorite towns in all of Croatia. And I decided that this was a great place for us to spend a few nights, because you can, again, wander through the streets. There's such charming restaurants and buildings. It's really amazing. And here's a great shot of Rovinj looking from the sea. So as I say, from here, we get to, with our local guide, we'll get to know the town a little bit better. We'll walk through all these narrow alleyways and understand a little bit the history of this town. We're also going to go to a nearby fruit farm where we're going to enjoy olive oil and wine tasting. And this is a family I got to know when I visited there just last year, and they make a whole array of products on the farm. They farm so many different fruits and vegetables. And there, they'll give us a little bit of an insight into this whole notion of Istria being a breadbasket, and how food is produced there traditionally, and all the different things they can produce, because again, being this peninsula, it's a bit of a microclimate. And we'll have a lovely lunch at this farm, and we'll have some time in the afternoon to just enjoy Rovinj, maybe go for a swim in the beach, depending on how the weather is. All in all, it'll be a lovely day. The next day, we're going to go and explore what Istria is most famous for, at least in Europe. And of course, when we think of truffles, we usually think of Italy. Truffles are harvested, if you will, in a few select places around the world. But actually, Istria is, in international truffle circles, is one of the most beloved places, and they've been hunting truffles here for a long time. So we're going to go up to Motovun, beautiful hilltop town, and we're going to visit a family truffle hunting place. They're quite well established. You'll see when you pull in. I mean, they've got a lovely restaurant overlooking the valley, and they'll actually take us out and show us with the dogs how they go out and sniff out the truffles and dig out these very valuable fungi, right? And of course, there's black truffle and white truffle. White truffle being the absolute most prized thing that you can get. Of course, the majority of what they get is the black truffle. We'll have a chance to sample some of these truffles and the various dishes that they make. Of course, they've got a whole bunch of things that you're absolutely going to want to buy if you like truffles. But we'll visit Motovun itself. This is a super charming town right up on a hill, and you look over this whole valley where the truffles are harvested. And we'll end up doing a wine tasting at Tomasz, where you can learn a little bit about about Croatian wine. Again, something that will be new to you in all likelihood, because we don't see a lot of Croatian wines on the shelves in our liquor stores back in Canada, and they make some terrific varietals that, of course, will pair well with those truffles. All the while you'll be together with your Istrian guide, Alex. Is a lovely chap. He is actually specialized in the field of, first of all, tourism, but second of all, truffles. So he knows pretty much all of these truffle farmers around Istria. And this makes for a really lovely experience because you've got somebody that's got such firsthand knowledge. So I'm delighted that we're going to be working with Alex. One more day in Rovaniemi, we're going to go to the south coast of the Istrian Peninsula and visit Pula. And this town has a rather remarkable amphitheater that you see here. It's one of the most intact Roman arenas that's left in the entire world. It's quite a fascinating structure. And so this is, there's lots of history here. There's lots of ruins all over, not just Europe, but all over the Balkans. But this Roman amphitheater is quite remarkable, and we'll get a great explanation about why it has remained so intact when most of them have fallen to ruins. We're also going to take another farm experience later in the afternoon in Kokuni, where we're going to try some goat cheese. Again, one of the many products that they make in this region that are so delicious. And this is why this aspect of the trip is sort of dedicated to the food culture in Croatia. And their food is, as I say, known throughout all of the country and all of the Balkans. So then after breakfast, we head down and we're going to make our way down to Poreč. And we're going to, Poreč is a little bit up the coast, so on the north side of Istria. And it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. In some ways a little bit similar to Rovaniemi, but has its own flavor. The streets there, I can remember the patterns of the way they did the roads. Everything, again, so beautifully intact. We'll have lunch at Svati Nikola, which is right on the promenade in Poreč, so you overlook the sea, and you'll have lots of time to go shopping. It's a great spot for, they have some incredible markets and shops all throughout the town. So you'll have a real good sense of Istria, and again, I think it's worth it because this area is lesser explored, certainly by travelers from North America who tend to focus on the southern part, which is of course where we're headed next. And as I say, from Rovaniemi, we'll make our way down all the way down the coast, stopping in briefly for coffee in Opatija, and then heading down. Actually, in fact, we'll have lunch in Opatija. That's what we've decided to do because it's also a charming town that the European royalty back in the 19th century, this is where many of them congregated, was in Opatija. And so it's a charming town. We won't have a lot of time there, but there'll be certainly time to have lunch, have a flavor of the town before we drive further down the coast, down to Šibenik, which is where our vessel is awaiting us to take on our 1 week journey around the islands and the beautiful coastline. The Adriatic Queen, what I like about this vessel is she's a family-owned vessel, and all of the cabins except for one are on one deck. It's the only ship in the fleet in the Adriatic that has this. There is one cabin that is on a so-called upper deck adjacent to the bridge. Lots of deck space, great lounge area, lots of elbow room, and of course we've got this all to ourselves. But what makes this ship perhaps most comfy and cozy is not the amenities, and they certainly are lovely, ample-sized cabins, is the fact that it is owned by a family, and we will meet the captain and father of the family, the father figure that is shown here with me, and his whole family, who are the ones who are hosts on board, amongst, of course, other crew members. And this makes such a different experience compared to a lot of the ships that are just, managed by a crew, a staff. But in this case, it's a family affair, and that again is why I really, really love this vessel, and also why we're only running the program once next year, because they're so popular and so beloved that all of the other charters have been subscribed to for years and years and years. So we're trying to get ourselves in. So we're very lucky that we got a prime date in early May, partly because I went to see them and pleaded with them to let us sail with them at this time. So talking about now our adventure and where we're headed, is we're going to make, I say, a number of different stops around the Croatian coast. Primošten, which is, you see here, one of the islands here, and the shots that you're going to see are indicative of the whole coastline. So islands, beaches, mountains along the seaside, and I can honestly say that these images don't really even do it justice. But nonetheless, this gives you a little bit of a taste of what you can expect along the way. Our program typically is we sail in the morning. So we're usually sailing in the morning. We'll sometimes make a stop for a little swim. Again, the water's a bit cool at this time of the year, but nonetheless, a lot of our members still say they want to jump into the Mediterranean, even if it's only for a quick dip. We'll have lunch on board, and then we typically arrive at our port of call in the early to mid-afternoon, depending on how far we're traveling, and that allows us then to go on shore. In some cases, we have a guided tour. In some cases, we just have free time, depending on where we are, what village, what town we're in, and then you have dinner at leisure to enjoy in these beautiful spots all along the Croatian coast. And then we're in port usually all night long, so you get a good night's sleep. So there's no motion of the boat because you're obviously moored, and this is the general flow of the day. So as I say, on this first day, we're going to visit Primošten, we're going to visit Trogir, and then we're going to head down into Split itself, which, as I mentioned, is the town where most of these charters start. But we've done this before, there's nothing wrong with it, but I just always found it very hectic. That's why I thought it's worth to go a day a little bit further up the coast and start in Šibenik, and we can do that again because we are chartering this ship ourselves. Split itself, very lively town, one of the most, it's the second largest city actually in Croatia, and has a lively promenade, lots going on. We'll arrive in the early afternoon. We'll have an expedition, among other things, to the Diocletian Palace, which is this huge historic building here that has a remarkable history in terms of why it was built, how it's built, and the city has kind of grown into it. So all these alleyways and other houses are kind of stuck to it. So it's a neat piece of architecture. It's the hub of the town. We're moored literally about 400 or 500 meters away at most. So everything is within walking distance, and you'll have lots of time to, again, followed by our guided tour, to wander around and then have a lovely evening on the promenade overlooking the harbor. From there, we'll visit Hvar. And Hvar is a whole island, but it's also a town, and the town is what you see here. This is one of the jet set capitals of the Adriatic and the whole Mediterranean, judging by a few of the super yachts that you see moored here. So once again, same program. We sail in the morning. We'll arrive into Hvar. We'll have a little walking excursion. We'll go up and see this. They have a fort that overlooks the town, more or less from where this picture was taken, down overlooking the harbor. And then you'll have lots of time to explore town on your own. And this town is known for its nightlife. So although May is early in the season, there's always something going on. There's a little bit of hustle bustle. You might, if nothing else, go out there and have a glass of wine along the promenade and just enjoy all of the vibe of this very, very popular town. We continue down the coast, and again, we're making our way gradually towards Dubrovnik. We're going to visit the island of Bishovo, which has these little boats that bring us to a place called the Blue Cave, similar to the Blue Grotto, like you have in Capri in Italy, or in other grottos around the world, also in Cyprus, and there's many other places. But this one is kind of neat. It's not a super popular stop, which means we may, for lucky, we'll have it all to ourselves. But there are little boats there that will bring us in so that you can see this incredible light show, the reflection of the light going into the cave that you can see here that gives this incredible blue aura and color. We'll also visit the island of Vis, which is the furthest inhabited island from the mainland, and it has beautiful, beautiful ocean views and a very rich history that goes all the way back to the Neolithic era. And so we do have an alternate program because the one thing, like any of these grottos and caves, if for some reason the seas are a bit too rough or the wind's too rough that they can actually go in, because you just go in on these fairly small little boats. We do have a lovely winery that we can visit on Viz. We've been there before, and nobody ever objects to a winery because it's always a fun and exciting experience. There's always lots of smiles when you come out of the winery. So lots to do that day. That'll be a lovely day, and we'll moor near Vis for the evening before then heading to Korčula. This is my favorite town. I love Korčula because it's sort of on a hill, and what you can't see from the picture is that it was actually a planned town at the time that it was built centuries ago, and they did it in a herringbone pattern because the summers here are long and quite warm, and they can get very, very hot, and so they created this very interesting herringbone pattern that allows for airflow, a natural airflow to sort of go flow through the town. In May, it's not usually that hot. That's part of the reason why we go at this time of the year. But just the design of the city, it's got a great walkway that goes all the way around here. There's a fortress. There used to be, I think there's still a bar, a little lounge on top of this fortress that you can see here. Our ship will be moored somewhere along this pier here. You go up there, have a cocktail, watch the sunset, and then there's a great promenade around the other side of the city where you can look out and overlook the mountains on the mainland. Just a delightful, delightful place. We'll have a wine tasting here as well. Wine is a theme. There is lots of wine produced down here, and again, they really do make some great different varieties that are worth trying and exploring and getting to know while you're here. We'll then head down to Dubrovnik, and of course this is for many people the highlight of the trip, the pearl of the Adriatic. We'll take some time. We'll head there later in the afternoon. In Dubrovnik, and getting into Dubrovnik, it's obviously a busy place. There's big cruise ships, there's small cruise ships, there's yachts, there's all manner of vessels sailing into Dubrovnik, even at this earlier time before the prime season, and we will cater our program depending on the weather, the time that we arrive, because we have time, and that's the beauty of this part is that we've slightly amended our program from previous years to give ourselves a little bit more time, because everybody said, oh, we just need more time in Dubrovnik to explore this incredible medieval city. We'll have a chance to get a cable car ride, which goes up a mountain just outside of town and gives you a great aerial view of the city. Of course, you'll have time to explore on your own. The ship is going to stay overnight in Dubrovnik, and then we have to wave goodbye to the ship in the morning. Our luggage will get transferred over to our new hotel for the last couple nights in Kavtat, which is not far away. In the meantime, we're going to go for a guided tour of the city. We're going to also hand you a Dubrovnik card because the most exciting thing to do, for lack of a better word, is obviously the walls of Dubrovnik. These are famous. You've seen them if you watch Game of Thrones. These are some of the oldest intact city walls from the medieval era in all of Europe. That's what makes Dubrovnik so famous. And the key to really enjoying and getting the most out of Dubrovnik is not being there when the cruise ships are there. Now, of course, we can't guarantee when the cruise ships are going to be there exactly, but they generally come in the morning and they leave in the later part of the afternoon. And so by the time we get there, we'll know from when we arrive the day before and the whole day that we have there, and then some of the next day, when exactly the ships will be there. So we try to make sure that you get there in a time that you can get up onto those walls and savor it. I won't say all to yourself, but without the throngs of tourists that Dubrovnik is known for. So this is again a real USP, if I can use that marketing term for this program, is that we want you to enjoy Dubrovnik to its fullest. There's also the possibility to visit this Lokrum Island, which is just off the coast of Dubrovnik. A beautiful 11th century Benedictine monastery is there. Lovely walking paths, gardens. Not just Dubrovnik itself, but the environs are absolutely spectacular. The mountains in the back, and the and of course all of the islands that you can see. And here's a great shot from up on the hill where the cable car is, overlooking down over Srd, which is a very, very panoramic mountain that is just above Dubrovnik. So this is looking down on Dubrovnik, but on the other side, looking towards the harbor area. So the harbor area of Dubrovnik, where all the ships moor, is about 1.5 kilometers or 2 kilometers from the actual old town. And so when we go up on the side of the mountain in Srd, we get a chance to see this whole view overlooking it's a great way to end up the trip, because we see some of this territory that we've covered over the last few days, and once again there'll be some more time in Dubrovnik. We do this wonderful farewell dinner in a restaurant that they now know us when we come, because it's Wheel and Anchor. We come every year to this restaurant just outside the old town gates. It's a terrific spot. Everybody always says thank you for bringing us to this spot, because it's one of the favorites among our members on all of our trips. And that will be that will wrap up our trip through Slovenia, Croatia, and the Dalmatian coast. As I say, this is a real winner, and every year just sort of gets better and better as we really fine tune every little bit. I mean, we've had rave reviews from pretty much every single trip that we've had, and yet even then, being a bit of the perfectionist that I am, we're always looking for the fine tuning in that little restaurant and that little place to stop in this island, and I think we've really nailed it. So we hope you'll join us on this trip. Some of the details, or all of the details, are available in your program itinerary. So I'll just share with you a few of the main details. This program is, as I say, most of the cabins on the ship are in the main deck. There's only one on the bridge deck. So if you're keen on being above everybody else, not that it makes that much of a difference, because the cabin is basically the same size. It's just a little bit higher up. There's one of those, and so your pricing is shown here in Canadian dollars, which includes everything that I've just talked about. So all of the hotels in Slovenia, in Istria, and following the cruise in Kavtat, as well as this wonderful, wonderful itinerary on the Adriatic Queen, this ship that we have chartered now with this family-owned ship. The only thing that one has to count extra for are airfare and taxes, which we are happy to facilitate your airfare for you, depending on your own agenda, where you're coming from, and if you're going to go earlier or stay later. That's why we keep airfare separate, because we know that our members are often on a broader adventure around Europe. And of course, your insurance is the other thing that we strongly recommend, and we can help you sort. If you have any questions at all about the program, then by all means just drop us a note, and Paula will be the one who will answer your call and make sure that you have all the information that you need. And you can also reach her by phone, as noted there. We have, of course, this webinar, but also our program itinerary, and then we have what we call additional traveler's information document that has answers to all the questions that you might have. So just request all of that. We'll shoot it over to you, and you can read through it. And then, of course, if you still have anything that you need to know specific to your circumstances, by all means, we will get your questions answered. Thank you for watching this webinar today. I appreciate it. We'd love your feedback. We are doing the next few webinars just pre-recorded. But we'd love to have your feedback, your questions. How did you like it? Let me know, because we're trying to do the best way possible to make sure that you have the information you need. So thanks so much, and thanks so much for watching today. Bye-bye.